All right, welcome back to the Tool World podcast. I'm here with Master Zhu. I almost said Tool World Plus there.
And I put the plus up.
Yeah, so we're all disoriented.
So they're going like, well, what's the difference between the podcast and the Tool World Plus?
Well, Plus is going over techniques, theories, and detail work,
video,
right?
actually. So, I mean, this is actually on a podcast. I mean, obviously it's on YouTube.
Right.
But it's also on a podcast, and so we get comments like, can you show us a video of that technique you're talking about? And I was like,
no, because the podcast is mostly used for,
Listening.
we're trying to make you to think, right?
Yeah, to listen.
So listen and give different opinions on it. So
if you want to look at what we're doing with our
Tool World Plus, you
tool,
can go through
you can watch
website,
a video and
right?
then you can see how we executing technique.
Right. This week we're going to be talking a little bit about flexibility. That's a kind of a big topic here at our school as we're coming up to this next year.
Is it?
I guess so.
Are you going to demonstrate that? No, you can't
No,
demonstrate
I can't,
on a
because it's a podcast.
Let's drive that home. But it's a podcast.
I think just from a competition perspective, and this is why it kind of comes up a lot, even a self-defense perspective, if you don't have those tools, kicking high kicks, you're not gonna make it far in a competition. If you're in a self-defense situation, I don't know how often you're gonna be kicking super high, but it's always good to have those certain type of skill sets, right? If I can kick the head level, then I could kick it anywhere else, right? If I only train at the belt level or below, that's as high as my leg's gonna get. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think flexibility is really important. If you don't have the flexibility, then you're going to be limited with the tools, the weapons that you might have. I always kind of call them weapons, but obviously self-defense situation and sparring or even patterns is going to be different. But the flexibility, right? If you don't have that flexibility, how can you do like Kodang or Juche or Mu or those kind of things, or even the jumps, the flying techniques. Your body's got to be kind of agile to be able to do some of these things. And so flexibility is really important. And those are just patterns when it comes to sparring. It's the same, If you don't have the flexibility to whip that leg around, it's not going to happen. And that also occurs in self-defense. But other things happen as well. I think flexibility makes a difference. It's like, I remember, because you're flexible and you happen to fall down and your leg is in a certain position, it's like no big deal, right? Right. But if you're not flexible, you could maybe hurt yourself. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I saw this video the other day. It was a guy wrestling. He was doing a wrestling match. In the full splits, the guy was like locking him down. He was in the full splits, and then the guy was trying to take him down, but he was able to take his leg and bring it back into a pigeon pose, and then flipped it on him. And so, yeah.
Kind of like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, a little bit. It was a little high school wrestling match.
So flexibility can help in all ways, in all different situations,
Right.
So I think it's important.
So you have some thoughts on flexibility. What have you been thinking about recently?
Kind of the way I used to do it. I mean, I think a lot of people would say, "Oh, I'm not flexible. I can't do it." And it's that mindset. I think if you believe that, then you're not going to be able to do it. I remember when I was a teenager and I had a broken leg. I wasn't flexible, and it wasn't even something that was on the radar. Why would I want to be flexible? And then, couldn't touch my toes really. But I remember when I had a broken leg and I had a full leg cast, and my toes were itching. And in the beginning, it's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't reach it. Right. But it was itching all the time, and it's like, so every day is like going for it. Finally, I got down there and I was able to get like a ruler and scratch my foot. Right. It can be done. I think it can be done, and I think if you just keep trying and work on it, that it can be. And stretching is a little bit different than it is to date. And I shouldn't say for us anyway. In our studio? In our studio, because when I first started, our class was a little bit longer, and we did spend probably 20 to 30 minutes just on the stretching part of the class, and then we would do Taekwondo. So do you feel like spending more time on that yielded better results on the flexibility, or because we still have some pretty flexible students, maybe just naturally flexible, Right. No, when I think back on it, I think most of our guys were a little bit more flexible than I see today. Is it ethnicity? Maybe that's how a lot of people use that as an excuse. I'm a such and so I'm not as flexible. And go,
Or was it a smaller class? So you could spend a little bit more
Yeah,
attention on them too?
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely smaller. I also do kind of help them with the flexibility. Maybe not so common today. It's kind of like, you know, I remember my instructor used to come over there and push you down, and you're just like, oh my God. He also had this one machine that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I looked for it, but I think they banned it. I think it was a little too dangerous.
Okay.
It was like this, like these little pads, and it was on those wheels, and you kind of held on to something, and then your legs would just,
Whoa.
you know, and you couldn't really help but
Yeah.
roll out, and
Right.
you had these rails, and you go, oh my gosh, and you try and hold it up there.
Well, you can do that now. You could get those. They have like they have like pads, you know, where you
Yeah.
step on them, and that's kind of
And
like that, but maybe not on wheels.
Right.
Okay.
But you can't find it, that machine. You know, I was looking for that. And it was a cool machine because you could do front splits and side splits. Like some of these machines that you do have, you can crank it. You sit on it and crank it. It just opens it up.
Right.
But you can't do the splits as much.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's just a little bit different.
So if I'm somebody that's pretty unflexible, what's an average amount of time that you can become flexible? Let's say for like a competition standard, I'm trying to get it, like work on that side kick, but my side splits is awful.
Yeah.
You know,
It
what do
is
you
awful.
think? And there's definitely different philosophies out there, right? I think that if you look at maybe like some of the masters in Russia, they do it in a month. That side splits.
Yeah.
And they're really pushing it down. So are they damaging any muscles? But they are kicking really high after that. And it's really nice.
Yeah, so I've seen some of the videos, and they're helping. They're helping the students go down, you know? And you got to push the limit to some degree. I think, you know, if you're not feeling that stretch and you're not crying a little bit, you know, then it's going to be a little bit too easy. I mean, when I was reaching for my toes, I'm crying, but I got to
you gotta
scratch
it.
that
Right.
foot. And so, I don't know if we do that as much in America,
Right.
just because of time. It could be, you know, liabilities or whatever it might be.
Right.
Because for sure you can. I remember I had 2 students, and they had the full splits. And I says, okay, how'd you guys do that? Because they came actually, they had done martial arts somewhere else, and they were pretty flexible. I said, oh, okay. Well, tell me, what did you do to get that flexible? I mean, they could do the side splits, the front splits. It was like all the way down. And I was like, tell me. And this is what they told me. They said, we got some weights, like 25-pound weights.
Yeah.
And then we just pushed it down.
Yeah.
And
No,
then-
that's it.
And I'm like, and what did you hear? A rip?
Oh. But that is a common thing. So it is, I don't know what they call it, like an isometric stretch.
Right.
Where you put the weights in. So not only the idea is that you're strengthening the inner abductors as well, right? So it's not
Right.
just that flexibility.
Yeah, and so it's dangerous. Yeah, I think that's a little bit dangerous to do, but it works, and they're still walking.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're wrapping it up. I'm kind of thinking that we have a part 2 on this.
You do?
Because we already have 10 minutes here.
Oh, you don't want to jump in on
No,
that?
I would, but can't make this video 20 minutes because
All right, so that's my
each week.
perspective,
That's
I
your
guess.
perspective, and next week I'm gonna hit you with some controversial opinions about stretching.
Okay.
All right, so stay tuned for that. As always, don't forget to be safe,
Keep training.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Taekwon.